Warriors take the stand. From shore to shore we reclaim the land. Grit and glory in every strand. In Jersey Shore we make our stand.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Jersey Shore Podcast. That's SURE, because we are always sure. Brought to you by the Great America's Pulse Network. So we have some special guests on tonight. I was going to have another special guest on, but we had some issues with his connection from his house. So we'll work that out for him next week because he's a very special guest. We need to get him elected for council, Mark McDonough, but we'll get into that later on or when you see him being interviewed next time. But I'm going to start off with the breaking news right now. And this one is close to home for me, for especially my wife and my mother-in-law, and would be for my father-in-law too, but unfortunately he passed a couple of years ago. President Trump and RFK came out with a statement today saying that they believe that it found one of the causes of autism. They talked about being acetaminophen, Tylenol. And I know that my wife, she was told by doctors when she had my two kids, if she was to have a headache or something like that, or had a fever, to take Tylenol, not ibuprofen. I know my mother-in-law took Tylenol when she was pregnant with my brother-in-law, who's 28, and he's severely autistic. And he's in a home right now. He can't speak, and he's very violent. And if you watch the video that Trump put out there today, and you look at what was said about, RFK said, do you see 70-year-olds, that can't speak or walking up on their toes? I mean, it's a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law does, and he's very aggressive. And that's why I said it really hits home for me and my wife, my mother-in-law, and our entire family does. And we've been looking for something that could have caused autism for a long time. Now, I don't know if it's exactly Tylenol. I don't know. They also mentioned the vaccines and to spread them out. My wife and I did that because there was things out there that said that, too much of too many vaccines at once with the thimerosal, when they came out with that possibly could be causing autism. But you can't go against big pharma, So I congratulate RFK. I congratulate Trump for having the guts to come out and actually say this. And I don't think they would say it if it didn't have any merit to it. But we'll see where it goes, because you look at autism, it's it used to be like 1 in 20,000 people that were diagnosed with autism. Then it was 1 in like 10,000. Now it's like 1 in 31 children are diagnosed with some form of autism. And unfortunately, my brother-in-law has the worst case of it. He's severely autistic, if you were to call it that. But that's the breaking news for me today. It's good that we can find something out. I'm hoping that it shines some light on what really causes it, because it is an epidemic. I mean, if you look at it, everyone is diagnosed with autism nowadays. 1 in 31, that's the number. And so I don't mean everyone, but 1 in 31. But so with that, that's my breaking news, and that was my monologue pretty much. So I know I do a monologue right afterwards. So I'm just going to talk about who I'm going to be bringing on. So I'm bringing on some pretty special guests, and this is something that everyone needs to look into. It's about voter integrity. You have Lynn, Lippencott, and Mark Demo that are going to come on, and it's C4 NJEI. It's a nonpartisan organization focused on ensuring New Jersey elections are transparent and sound. Voter registration, chain of custody, tabulation, etc. They have filed lawsuits or have been involved in litigation regarding access to Dropbox surveillance video in Cherry Hill under Oprah for transparency and all that. They've identified certain dead or duplicate voter registrations and referred findings to New Jersey's Department of Justice. They're also involved in litigation in Mercer County challenging election practices. So I want to bring them on for our first segment. Our first segment was going to be with Martin, but I'm sorry, Martin. We'll get you next time. So we're going to have to skip the first hammer segment, and we're going to go right to election integrity. So let's bring him on. Hello, Lynn. How you doing?
Hello, Damon.
Hey,
Hello,
David.
Martin. How you doing?
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No, thank you guys for coming on. I think what you guys are doing it's extremely important with voter integrity. It really is, especially we'll go to a clip in the next segment. With dead people voting, illegals voting, and the thing is, it's nonpartisan. So it's not just favored on one side or the other. It's just to make sure that we have election integrity and the right people, the people's voices are heard to get the right people in that they want to be in office, and there's no cheating. So I'll just start off with the first question. I just want to ask you guys, like, what motivated both of you to found this?
So I can answer that. So like many people, Mark and I met through some grassroots group that were a little concerned, or a lot concerned actually, about the transparency of our elections processes. And over the last few years, we've built our group, which is Citizens for New Jersey Election Integrity, which we focus on in a nonpartisan way, because, like you mentioned, election integrity is not a partisan issue. It's it should concern everyone, because if we don't have fair and transparent elections, I don't know what we have. So we founded the organization a few years ago, and it's grown a lot over the last year or two. We have people from all over the state who are coming out. They're attending our weekly meetings. We have been doing a lot of educational programs for different reasons. We do get involved in the analysis of the elections every time we have an election. We've been working closely with the boards of elections in all 21 counties, and we are just trying our best to make people aware and educated and get involved in their elections process, regardless of what their political party or their political beliefs are.
Yeah, and Damon, I would add, I don't know about you, but November 2020, when I went to bed, I thought I knew who the president was, right? And then we learned a whole lot about what we really didn't know over those next few years, right? And so my initial reaction was shock, and then I got pissed off, right? And then it was, what am I going to do about it? And Lynn and I met, and we got to talking about what we wanted to do and how we thought it would be appropriate. There's so many ways to get involved in election integrity, right? There's so many things wrong with the process, but we said, let's focus on New Jersey, and let's pick one or two problems to get involved with to start with. And Mercer County happened in 2022. That was worse than Maricopa County. Everybody heard about Maricopa County in Arizona, right? Where the size of the ballots were 19 inches for a 20-inch. Like, there was something to do with the ballot images, right? That were wrong. Well, Mercer County was worse, and nobody knows about that. And Mercer County was worse. There were no voting machines that worked on election day at all, right? So that gave us a great opportunity to dig into, to start to learn about the process and get involved and really make a difference.
No, that's amazing. It's great. I mean, Arlene Gajkowski, she's the one that I know she's part of it, and she tells me all about you guys all the time. And I know she's involved. I know she's watching right now. So thank you, Arlene, for getting these guys on, because I think this is so important. What you guys are doing right now is, I mean, everything that everyone says, oh, it's a threat to democracy. Oh, the left would say that. Well, see me, I am partisan. I am biased. I'm a Republican, so I lean that way. But when they say it's a threat to democracy, this, that, but they call everything that. But what you guys are doing is just making sure that people's vote counts and it's real. I think that.
Damon,
Good.
You're from Burlington County, right? You're in Burlington.
I'm in Gloucester.
Or you're in Gloucester. All right. Well, lots of your viewers are in Burlington, right? Burlington County had a disaster of an election in November, right? And what we did was dig into the data there, and what we learned that Burlington County had the lowest number of voting machines per voter in the entire state of New Jersey by far. And our estimates were in the order of over 25,000 people were turned away because they were not able to vote on election day. And those those are the kind of things that people need to pay attention to, right? And if you don't get involved, you're going to get garbage elections like the people in Mercer County had, like the people in 2022. Thankfully, those people are involved. They got angry enough to sue the county, and we helped them facilitate that. And in Burlington, we got involved there to learn the true aspect of what really happened there, right? So, you don't, once you scratch the surface, you can go in any direction in terms of where things fall apart completely, because the process is such that there are, like, I come from a banking background, right? You count on your checking account balance to be accurate 100% of the time, every night, right? Credits and debits are reconciled. In the election process, there are no internal controls whatsoever. It's designed without them, right? So we have plenty of work to do and plenty to talk about in this process.
No, I'm sure you guys do. And Lynn, I would ask you, what is your process for investigating potential, irregularities? How do you source your data, like voter rolls, death records, ballots, et cetera?
I, like Mark said, after we actually started before 2022, but what we do is when there's an election, starting back in 2020, we started to request election data in the form of open public records requests. And our state, believe it or not, New Jersey has a lot of problems, but one of the things we're very fortunate about is that we do have a fairly good public records request system. And by that, I mean, we do have good access to our public records. So over the months and couple of years, we just learned what data was available. Mark and I do work with people at the national level. So we are very, very blessed because we have a lot of support and a lot of very, very intelligent people that have over the years have taught each other and trained each other. Mark and I have contributed a lot of things that we've learned, but every election we pull the data, and Mark is primarily our data person, but we just go through and we, like he said, we try to reconcile, and there is no reconciliation. So we have built our own internal filters, the way that Mark analyzes the things like the voter rolls, things like, we know how many vote by mail ballots get requested in any given county for any given election. And then we see how many ballots get returned. And we also do what's called a challenge process. So if we find that there are a number of vote by mail ballots that come back from from voters or alleged voters, and the counties accept these or get these ballots back, then we can file what's called a challenge to those counties. And we say, hey, we'd like to know if these are actually eligible voters before these ballots get counted, because if they're not legally eligible to vote, then their ballots shouldn't be counted. So that's just one of the things that we've been doing. We've been teaching people around the state. Like I mentioned, people from all 21 counties are getting involved. And, so we do work with the general public. We work with the boards of elections to try to help train them, because believe it or not, these election processes over the years are not becoming easier or simpler. They're becoming more complex, and more, there's more baggage in the way, for lack of a better word. There's just so much that they build upon year after year and election after election. And if you aren't a very highly technical person, a lot of this stuff is very, very difficult to understand and to follow. So, so that's one of the ways we try to help the counties, because we do know a lot of things about their equipment, about their processes, about the types of support that they can get among each other, because we might know that County A has a good process for this, but County B doesn't. So we try to connect them. And most of the counties are very appreciative. We're very, very fortunate that we have been developing relationships with the counties. So, and we want that to continue. That is something that's extremely important, is to have that open dialogue and have their willingness to work with the public, because at the end of the day, the elections belong to the people, right? It's not, the government doesn't own the elections, it's the people. And so we need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on our elections.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark, I'll give you an example
Okay.
of what we've been doing. Lynn used the phrase "keeping an eye on our elections," right? So you're familiar with the Dropbox process, right? Where actually in this most recent election coming up, the vote by mail ballots just went out this weekend. So
Yes, it did. Yeah.
vote by mail voting has already started, and we're 45 days out from the election.
So how do you guys police that with the mail-in ballots?
Well, as an example, New Jersey will make the data available on a daily basis of the cumulative vote by mail ballots that were cast, right? So in the June primary, what we did just as an experiment, right? What we did was you can tell which are the busiest drop boxes in the state, right? You can rank. You get the vote by mail data on a daily basis. You get the how many ballots have been delivered by mail, how many ballots have been delivered by Dropbox, how many by bearer, and so we can rank them. We look at the most populated or the busiest drop boxes across the state. That happens to be in Camden County, right? Cherry Hill, Pensauken, Gloucester Township in Camden, and in Gloucester, Washington, and Monroe, and in Burlington it was Evesham and Mount Laurel. So we opened the Dropbox records for those municipalities, right? Okay. And what you learn. So first of all, this was after the election, right? And what you learned immediately is, well, all those videos are deleted. So of the seven Dropbox video locations that we requested, we only got 2 of them, right? The other 5 said, "Oh, we already deleted that video," right? We have video on 4 of them said we already deleted the video.
Well, hold on, let me ask you a question. Is there a protocol that they have to delete videos? Is there like a time that they?
Well, the state
there's a protocol that they have to retain them.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we found first of all was that in most of the municipalities, that the data is actually deleted within 30 days. And if your vote by mail ballots go out 45 days before the election, this video is deleted, 10 to 15 days before the election takes place.
Wow.
So what we have done is the state has a policy that says that the counties minimally have to retain it until after the ability for a candidate to challenge a race, which is generally about 45 days after the election, right? So they have to retain it until then. But many municipalities and counties across the state were not complying with this. So that's the first thing that we learned. And so we immediately made the state aware of that. We immediately made the counties aware of that and the municipalities, right? And then what we had to do is we got into an argument with Cherry Hill because they wouldn't give us the video. They said the video is in front of a police station and we don't want to share video with you. We don't want to share video with you because we have confidential informants coming in, and we don't, crime victims. And which we completely understand, but the public has a right to see the video under the Open Public Records Act. Right?
Why can't they blur them out? I mean, you guys pay taxes.
That's
We pay
exactly
taxes. Why can't we see who goes to that Dropbox? Why can't they just blur out the everyone else?
So they wouldn't give us the video. So we sued them, right? And the judge sided with us. The judge said, Cherry Hill, you can't have it both ways. You knew the requirement when you placed the Dropbox on the video there, right? So either for going forward, you have to move it, right, so that we don't have this problem going forward, and B, for now, you have to give us the video. So, and we still haven't gotten the video. So we're making a motion to the judge to deal with that, right? But those are the kind of things that you learn, if you scratch the surface and everything falls apart, Damon, right? And for the two Dropboxes where we did compare the number of people who dropped ballots in the box for the 10-day period that we opened versus the number of ballots that were counted when the ballots were picked up, after the ballots were picked up and taken back to the central counting, well, it's never less than the people that were shown. It's always more. Yes, New Jersey has a bearer law where people can drop in more than one ballot into a Dropbox, but you can see that. And so we are working through that. We're working through those challenges, but that's one example that you learn when you get involved in taking a look at this problem, right? So,
yeah. So then I probably should have wore, instead of my Jersey Shore T-shirt, I have a T-shirt that says, "When I die," like I said, because I'm biased. All right, I am Republican, so I have a T-shirt that says, "When I die, please don't let me vote Democrat." So how do you stop that? How are you guys making up the cleaning up the voter rolls with people that have actually passed, and pushing that?
Well, that's a complicated question, Damon, because we don't have the power to remove anyone from the voter rolls. And I mean, Mark, you jump in here, because we had such a go around about this. We actually hired a company about a year ago to run some metrics on this, because this was a company that did business with pension funds, right? So they had the ability to check death records and whatnot, and they came back to us with their results. And I don't remember the exact number of people, but there was a pretty good chunk of people that they found who were still on our active voter rolls, who they could prove to, show us proof these people had been deceased. However, it's not just a matter of calling up the county and saying, hey, we found 100 people that are dead. It's a whole process that they go through in order to make these people inactive on the voter rolls. So you want to provide a little more color commentary on that, Mark? I know you did a lot more of that research with them.
And I'd like to get involved in things like Lynn and I like to be involved in things where we can repeat them and get better as we go along. And so we built a process where we take the monthly election data, import it into a system that we created. Actually, the system that we created was basically designed by a guy by the name of Dave Carver, who was a pretty special guy in and of himself. He had a chief data role at a major pharmaceutical company in New Jersey, got into an accident, became a quadriplegic, and couldn't work. So he took up working on voter rolls, right? And so the man was amazing. He passed away about a year ago, but we learned a lot from Dave, and his ideas still sort of permeate what we do, right? But what we did was take the ideas out of his head, put it into a system that allows us to bring in the monthly data from the state, filter it for compare it this month's data versus last month's data. Let's see the trends. By the way, the trends are over the last year that the Democrats have lost. The Democrats have lost like 65,000 registered voters over the last year to the benefit of Republicans, right? The Republicans are gaining. They are the Democrats are still way ahead in terms of registration, right? But Republicans are gaining. So
2.4 million across the country recently.
yes, I saw that, and I'm looking forward to the end of this month where we'll do the analysis to see what happens to the voter rolls, especially after the Charlie Kirk shooting, right? Let's see if that trend towards the GOP has accelerated. My guess is it has, right? But so we bring the data through, pass it through filters like we have lists of people who have moved out of state and registered in other states. We have a list of voters who have passed away. We have access to voter rolls in New York and in New York and Florida. So we pass the data. We compare our rolls against their rolls on a daily basis, on a monthly basis. We look for duplicate voters. We look for people who have slightly different names, who are registered more than once. And what we do is we find thousands of problems and on a monthly basis, and we escalate them back to the state, right? Or back to the counties. And if and a number of the counties are responsive to us, and they do work on the data, and they do get back to us and take and indicate that they take action. Basically, what they can't do is move the voter from active to inactive, right? And then there'll be a postcard process where the county will try to communicate with that voter to confirm that they still live there or not. And if they don't, they'll go on the list. And after not participating in 2 federal elections, the state will remove them. The state this year removed 239,000 people in February as part of that process, right? So we're about 6.5 million registered voters right now across the state. And as Lynn was saying, for the November 2024 election, there were over 800,000 vote by mail voters. We took that entire list, ran it up against a death index provided by this company, the Berwyn Group, and we came back with approximately 500 people who had voted, who had died. All that information was passed over to the New Jersey Department of Justice.
So right after this, we're going to take a quick break. But I heard about that. I heard about a lot of people that moved from New Jersey, because obviously a lot of people are moving from New Jersey, don't say, to Florida because of our horrible governor. That's my opinion. It doesn't have to be yours. And I heard that people were still registered to vote here in New Jersey, and they were voting in both places, in Florida and in New Jersey. And one last question for the segment, I just want to ask you guys: when somebody passes away, why can't you just file their death certificate and just have them removed right away? Why is the process so hard? Why is it so hard for the state to do that, to remove them from voter registration?
Well, I think my view on that is that they haven't been particularly interested in maintaining clean voter rolls. Clean voter rolls sort of muddies the water, and it helps those who want to cheat. It makes it easier for those who want to cheat, right? So, there's some counties that do a good job of it. There's some counties that do a terrible job of it, and we try to stay on top of the ones that do a terrible job and complement and work with the one and use the ones who do a good job as as examples to the others.
And just to make note and be clear, everything that we do is done with their data. We don't make this information up. It comes from the counties, or it comes directly from the state Division of Elections. So we are using the numbers and the data that they are providing to us.
Damon, as an example, we had another example I'll give you is we looked at the people there were over 21,000 people who were registered on November 5th, 2024, right? So the day of the election, the state registered the registration date is 11/5/2024 for over 20,000 people, right? So it's easy for us to check whether any of those people voted in the election, right? So what we found is 1,250 people of those voters who were registered on election day actually voted. So and interestingly, which New Jersey has a 21-day list, right? Interestingly, 85% of that 1,250 is in Essex County, Hudson County, and Burlington County. So all the others are non-existent, right? And you can go to a judge and make your case, and maybe during election day, and maybe you'd have 1 or 2 people or 10 people who might be able to get through and vote, but not at the level that we've seen, right? So this is the kind of stuff that we take back to the counties and say, hey, what can you explain this? And this is the kind of stuff that we send to the Department of Justice and say, hey, you may want to look into this.
Well, see, for me, I think they make it so hard and complicated. So if anybody really wants to remedy something, if you think the election was stolen or somebody cheated, people voted that they were either not alive, don't live in the state, and you want to find out, it's so difficult to file the paperwork. Even though New Jersey has very good OPR, request, it's easy to OPR something. They're good with that, but to go down the whole rabbit hole and try to figure all this out and look at an election, see how many people shouldn't have voted, how many illegals may have voted, whatever it may be. It's a very hard process. And what you guys are doing, I believe it's a great thing, because if you guys expose all this stuff and you can actually get legislation passed, to protect all these things, or maybe even get every voter machine that people go to is the same in every county. Why can't we just go to regular paper ballots again, so they can't be hacked or something like that, or the machine doesn't go down? I mean, but I don't know why other counties use different methods, but I think it should be throughout the whole state. Everyone should do that. But we're going to take a break right now. I just want to say Justin Barbera just said, let's move a lawsuit forward for Burlington County voters. He's from Burlington County. He ran for governor as well. And he's backing Jack Ciattarelli now, too, as you can see there in the comment section. So he said, please reach out to me through Damon. So, all right, Justin, thank you very much for watching. So we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up, because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution, because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our next Hammer segment. The Hammer segment it's a long story. Seth, one of our podcasters, calls me the Hammer for some reason. I don't know why, but so I always make a joke and label it that way. But I wanted to ask you guys, so this one is, I labeled this no credibility, no trust, and that's how I labeled the segments. But I want to ask you guys a question about like impacts and like pushback or risks. Like, have you guys received any pushback, that you've encountered, like from officials or legal or from public critics? Have there been claims of, alarmism, misinterpretation or partisan agendas? Like, how do you respond to that?
Well, there's a few things. So first of all, I want to make one thing clear. A lot of people perceive the work that we do in a way that they feel we are disenfranchising voters. And that kind of hurts my heart, because our intention is anything but. Our intention is to make the voters confident and certain that their elections are absolutely beyond reproach, right? So we're not here to disenfranchise anyone. We want everyone who is legally eligible to vote to get out and vote, because, that's the way we make our voice heard. But that being said, we live in a state that has no voter ID, and we live in a sanctuary state. And so right there are two major, major strikes against election integrity, because we are not verifying people's identity at the polls. And we are also not verifying citizenship eligibility for people to register to vote. And that's something that we may get some intervention from the federal level on that. We're not sure, but we're not counting on it. And we are still continuing to move forward to try to do whatever we can to encourage our state to adopt legislation that would ensure those types of voter integrity. Having voter ID is not, it's not a racist thing. It's not, I walk into Target to pick up an online order that I placed, and I have to show my identification to get my order, so showing an ID to vote, we don't think that's an unreasonable ask in these days.
Not at all. Not at all.
Those are two of the things. And as far as pushback, Damon, I'm going to say
one more.
something that might, yeah.
Lynn, before you go to the pushback, the third thing that I would say is we have a permanent vote by mail list.
Yes.
And
forgot that one.
And Damon, permanent vote by mail list layers in the ability for fraud. And the way it does that is we have laws in New Jersey that enable people to help others register to vote. Great, right? But what that does is, if you want to use that permanent vote by mail process for nefarious process, I can walk around, I can register people to vote. At the same time, I can have them apply to be on the vote by mail list, right? And then when after they're successfully registered and the election comes around and the vote by mail ballots go out, I can go around to my regular mail vote by mail list, collect those ballots, hand them $50, right? Fill it out for them. They sign it, send it back in, and it's impossible to catch, right?
Yeah.
So what you need to do is, as Lynn said, we think, grassroots groups like ours need to push from the bottom up to make people aware and get more people involved. But we need that top-down support from the federal side that helps push for voter ID, get rid of the permanent vote by mail list, ensure that the states have the ability to check, or there are no non-citizens on the voter rolls. Right now, there are no one that works in elections in the counties in New Jersey can check to see if, well, they don't check to see if anyone's a citizen. Now they have the ability to use the SAFE system, but New Jersey's in a lawsuit against the federal government about this, about the president's last election integrity executive order. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. I know your initiative is it's nonpartisan. It's just for integrity across the board for all elections, no matter what you're registered to vote, Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated or independent. So, but for me, I would say it really upsets me that I know that last year, my sister, she just decided to because the left, I would say, they pushed, voter ID is racist. How is it racist? You need to get on a plane for it. You needed to buy, everyone knows the whole spiel about it. You need to buy a pack of cigarettes. You needed to, for just about everything, but not for the most important thing that's in our Constitution is to vote for your leaders, and not for the most important thing. And they call it racist, and everyone knows it's BS. It is, but that's what they push. And my sister, when she went to vote in November in the last election, Trump's election, she just tried it. She just went up and, her signatures are there from all the years before that she voted. So she just walked up and she signed an X. Didn't show her ID, just signed an X. And she just wanted to see what would happen. And they let her go vote. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, it's even though her name was there from years and years before, like that you see it above, she just signed an X and let her vote. That is a major drinking problem, you know.
It is.
And us, we're a sanctuary state too, New Jersey. And I talk about this a lot. You know, we just New Jersey taxpayers alone pay $7.3 billion a year on illegal immigrants. You know, so and that's what it is. So and that's not federal. That's our state taxes, $7.3 billion. So and I did the math a while ago on my radio show. I was talking to Jack Bragg and Pete Sykes for Assembly. You know, they were on, and Pete is my co-host as well. And I got on the computer as somebody called in. And I said, "Wow, wait a minute. Let me just divide this up." And I divided it up, and the amount of houses, you know, in New Jersey, and I divided by the 7.3 billion. You could lower everyone's property taxes by over $2,000 a year if we didn't spend that money. And then, and what the reason I'm saying it too, I think we have like over 1 million illegal immigrants here. So imagine how that changes the vote. You know, if you don't have to have voter ID, and
well, it changes the schools, it changes the hospitals, it changes your public transportation, it changes housing, it changes the elections. 100%.
And with regard to voting, Damon, many people don't realize this, but every time anyone walks into a public agency, whether that's the Department of Motor Vehicles or, you know, Department of Housing, any type of agency, a government agency, they are offered the opportunity to register to vote.
Yes.
And when they get those forms, all they have to do in order to, you know, the only thing they have to do to prove or to be able to get their registration, their voter registration, is to check off a box. I am a U.S. citizen, yes or no.
Correct.
If they say yes, nobody asks for proof. There's
no validation,
documentary proof of their citizenship. And so with that one little tick box, you know, check mark in a box, they are eligible to walk into the polls. Now, what they don't know, and some people will, I mean, we've heard through some of the county boards of elections that some people are now realizing, some of these undocumented immigrants are realizing, oh my gosh, I'm not allowed to vote. You know, I'm not a citizen. And they'll come to the boards of elections and say, I got registered to vote. I can't vote. Please remove me. Right? They realize that this is a problem. So, it's just a big mess. And really, like Mark mentioned a minute ago, like our counties right now have no way to check citizenship. They have no ability to do that. And there are, I'm going to say it, there are some ways that citizenship can be verified, but our state government is prohibiting our counties from utilizing those services. So we are up against a big, it's a big fight that we have ahead of us because, you mentioned, the obstacles. We're finding that we have just as many people with R's after their name who are pushing back on election integrity as we have people with D's after their names.
Yeah.
And we believe that it's in some cases because if the elections were truly clean, does that call into question the legitimacy of their election? Were they legally elected into their positions? So,
well, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So it doesn't matter on what side you are. But I know that there are Republicans out there too, that same thing. But we are a blue state, so I kind of lean a little bit more pushing towards the Democrats because we are a very blue state and we're controlled by Democrats. But yes, there are Republicans as well. Same thing. So nobody is innocent in all this. But I just don't understand how it can. That's why I really want to push how important what you guys are doing is, because no one really realizes how bad this is. And I think if the people know about it, people look and they say, wow, wait a minute. These people can vote. These people can vote. I mean, because you can watch mainstream media all you want, and they'll call voter ID racist. They'll call all this stuff just to make people think. But oh, really, it is racist. Oh man, they're being racist. Those Republicans or those whoever it might be, but when you just lay it out, the numbers and the facts, and say, well, why shouldn't you show voter ID? Why this is how many illegal aliens can actually vote. This is how many people that are dead that can vote. This is how many people that don't live in the state that can vote. It should be like a no-brainer to me to change these laws and make sure. But I would say the people in power do not want that, because obviously they want to get reelected. So if they cheated in any way, shape, or form to get elected, then yeah, they don't want to change it. Whether Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. But the people themselves, they need to hear this, and they need to hear this from you guys. That's why I have you guys on. This is a good, I mean, it's a great message. It really is. And I think if enough people hear it, and then enough people just get inundated with it and show the facts that you guys are saying, it's like this, that, and the other, I think it will change.
Well, we do, Damon, we do have every Thursday, we have a Zoom call with our group, and it's a very, very, we follow an agenda. We don't waste anyone's time, but we try to keep everyone informed about what's happening and what our calls to action might be at any particular time. Again, like, we are trying to empower people to, get up, go to your Board of Elections meeting, go to your county commissioners meetings, make your presence known, because if they know that we're watching what they're doing, maybe they're not going to do things they shouldn't be doing, or maybe they're going to do things that, that they know we want them to do, because they know we're monitoring what's happening in our local government. So, we do welcome anyone that wants to hop on our meeting. I think you did have our contact information to share with everyone in your audience that might want to.
Yeah,
We'll add you to our call list, and come on one of our meetings and just see what's going on. And everyone, we've made such wonderful friends, and we have such committed, dedicated people across the state. And every single time we need help with something, someone is always there raising their hand. I'll help. I'll do it. There's a lot of need for a lot of skills. You might think, well, what can I do? And I don't have any technical background, or I don't have any political background. Doesn't matter. You have some type of talent that will be useful in this movement, even if it's just to go to a Board of Elections meeting and sit there and listen.
That's exactly right. I saw a woman who was interviewed that described the impact that Charlie Kirk had on her, and she said that when she met Charlie, the first thing that she said was, "Well, I'm just a mom," and he cut her off right there, and he said, "No, don't say that, right? Don't, like, you can't, you can't go there, right?" And as Lynn said, the most basic and fundamental thing is you got to show up. You got to show up to the meetings. Show up to your county commissioners meetings, because that's where the money's doled out, right? And you got to show up to your Board of Election meetings, and we'll teach you about the process. There is a lot to learn. There's the legal side, there's the operations process side, and then there's the technology side, right? And bring your skills to the party, and we'll put you to work somehow, right? And quite frankly, it's
empowering.
It's very fulfilling, and the best thing that you can do is show up and ask questions.
What do you guys have going on for the election in November, like poll workers, watchers, or anything like that? Do you have any seminars for people?
Do you want to pull up that slide? Do you want to pull up slide 4 that we had?
Yeah, sure.
That shows.
So yeah, we'll pull it up now.
Okay.
DW, got it. There it goes.
Let's go to the next one. Slide. I'm sorry. Back. Yeah. Go back. Yeah. So things that we're doing to prepare for November, right? Lynn, do you want to talk about our training and poll challengers, right?
Sure. So about a year ago, a little over a year ago, we realized there was a great need for training of poll challengers. And for anybody who's not familiar, a poll challenger is not a county employee. The people who work for the county are the poll workers or the board workers. They're hired by the county to actually work at the polling locations, operate the machines, help the voters, and whatnot. The poll challengers are the folks who are overseeing the process, from a more objective perspective. They can be appointed either by a candidate or they get appointed by the county party chairs, which could be a Democrat or a Republican Party chair. So the poll challenger's role is different from a poll worker. It's very unique. And a lot of people were not familiar with the role of the challenger. So we decided that we would do training and we would provide information for people to learn more about it and hopefully decide they wanted to sign up and become appointed as a challenger. So that started a little over a year ago, just before the November 2024 election. We have a wonderful woman who works with us, an attorney by the name of Dana Weaver. She's a constitutional attorney, very, very knowledgeable about the elections process in Title 19, which is our election law. And she conducted trainings for us, two in person, one up in Union County and one down south in Camden County. And then we did an online training session and we trained over 200 poll challengers. And then in the November election, we deployed them all over the state. And, we got a lot of insight into things that were going on. It just helps us to see where there could be holes in the system. And again, like Mark said, a lot of these things, we escalate the concerns right to the counties, and then we can work with the counties to try to help fix things that might need to be fixed. We're doing that again for this coming November's election. So we will be doing a poll challenger training on October 9th. We're going to be doing a Zoom stream, which will show a video of one of the trainings that Dana did for us, and then we'll have live question and answers. And again, it'll just be an informational session. We cannot appoint challengers, but you, as a interested person who wants to become a challenger, you can then go to your local party in your county, or you can go even into your municipality. Or if you have any friends that are running for office and say, hey, I want to be a challenger for your campaign,
Yeah, you can appoint challengers for
and it's just having eyes on the process. We hear the phrase boots on the ground. That's what this is all about. And we know that just from past experience and from other states, following some elections in other states, it is the most effective way to ensure as much integrity as we can get without some law changes, which we're not empowered to do that, but we can certainly keep an eye on the process from the ground level. So
can you go back to the slide, Damon?
Yep, let's bring the slide back up. There we go.
Yeah. So the RNC had approached us and said, could you help us recruit poll workers and poll challengers as well? So we're working with them. They have a deficit in certain counties. They have a deficit of participation by Republicans. So they've asked us, can you help us get the word out? And so we've done that. We're helping to recruit and refer people there so that there's a good balance of Democrat and Republican poll workers in the elections, in the upcoming elections. We teach people about. We publish a regular meeting schedule of Board of Elections, and when ahead of each election, when each county has their logic and accuracy testing, when they demonstrate the testing process that they put the machines through, those meetings are open to the public. We have a series of questions that we want volunteers to go to those meetings and ask their county officials questions. For example, you would think with all the technology that the machines would have the ability to detect a duplicate vote, but they do not. Right? It's one example. Right? And then as Lynn mentioned earlier, we also run a challenge process for vote by mail and early voting ballots. Right? Looking for duplicate voters, looking for dead voters, people who have moved out of state already and are registered elsewhere, bad addresses, post office boxes, right, in each county where we have challengers, right? So when we first started this process, Lynn went to one county to challenge, and they said, no one has ever done this before. We don't know what to do.
Okay. Wow.
You know, so, you know, like it's basically making them earn their, making them accountable for what they're supposed to be doing and making them earn their salary, right? So those are the kind of things that we like: training, turning up for testing, and then challenging. That's what we're preparing for in this upcoming election. If you can move to the next slide. The things that we do on a regular basis after the election: we Oprah and review Dropbox video from those boxes that are heaviest used across the state and look for discrepancies to escalate to law enforcement, right? We Oprah, one of our volunteers has really taken this process and made it really efficient, where we Oprah every county after the election. We Oprah them for their poll book data, their cast vote record information, their system logs, their provisional and mail-in reject reports, the certifications, ballot images, right? We can get, because it's New Jersey and we have decent Oprah laws, we can get that data, except for Mercer County, because they don't give us anything, which is why we end up in lawsuits with them, right? But then we start to do reconciliations. The most simple thing you can do, Damon, is to compare the number of people who have checked into the poll book in early voting, and the unique number of people who have checked into the poll book for early voting and election day, and compare that to ballots certified, right, for each of those. And you would think they should tie, but they never do, right? Burlington County in the 2020 election had over 1,000 voters who had checked into the poll book successfully, meaning they waited in one line to get to the poll book to check in, and then they had to wait, and before they went to the other line to cast their ballot and run it through the scanner, right through the tabulator, and the line was too long. They left, right? That's what happens. These are the kinds of things that your reconciliation exposes, right? Major problems are unveiled by doing that, right? And that enables us to ask more questions and dig into the data. That'll give us direction to go one way or the other if we find more problems.
Yeah, well, I would say right after this, we're going to go to the next break and go into our last segment, which is the loser and the Patriot Week Award I do. So you guys can stay tuned. And then once we do that, you can tell everyone how to find you, like put your email out there. That was info@citizennjei.org. But you can talk about that after the next segment. But yeah, I'm hoping that the mail-in ballots are gone in 2026. That's what I'm hearing. That's what Trump is looking to do, because mail-in ballots are horrible. There's so much cheating involved with it. I always like to vote on election day, but I do understand that sometimes things come up, like if there's a machine down or something like that, or something comes up that day you can't make it to vote. I do kind of like early voting, like 2 weeks prior, on the weekend. But you have to actually go to the polls. I do not like the mail-in ballots. I think there's just too much wiggle room for people to cheat. But I think if we tighten up the laws of voter ID and all that, I'm okay with voting like 2 weeks early, for those 2 weeks up to election day, as long as people go to a polling place. So
well, when we come back, Lynn will explain to you why that's not the most advantageous way to do it. All right.
All right. Well, if you want to explain it right now, let's do it right now before we go on a break. Then go ahead.
Well, when you have people are coming in to vote early, you have to remember that they are monitoring who's coming in to vote, and possibly more importantly, they're monitoring who hasn't come in to vote. So it gives a window of opportunity, because you have to remember that you can request a vote by mail ballot all the way up until, I think, election day. I'm pretty sure you can actually walk in to the Board of Elections on election day and ask for a vote by mail ballot. So if they're watching, when I say they, it could be the counties. Despite what everyone says, our poll books are online. They are connected to the internet. They are computers. Computers can be hacked. So when you have people that are not voting and they're what may be considered a someone who doesn't vote on a regular basis, so you can't really predict if they're going to vote on election day, but you can predict. You can probably be pretty sure they're not going to come in and vote on election day because they haven't voted in the last however many elections. But it leaves that person's name. Nobody's cast a vote yet under that person's name. So, you could have bad actors. Anyone can request a vote by mail ballot for you. I think they proved that. I can't remember now who it was that they called in. It was one of our government officials, and someone tried an experiment and said, I'd like to request a vote by mail ballot. And, the county put them on the list for vote by mail ballot. So there's a lot of, it's very loose. It's a loose system. And so
I wasn't saying vote by mail. I'm not for that at all. I think
no, I know. But what I'm saying is if you know who's come in to vote early and you can see the, what do they call them? Low propensity voters who are not likely to show up on election day. Okay. Right. And that leaves this whole pool of names on the active voter rolls that vote by mail ballots can be requested for these people. And like Mark mentioned, you have organizations going around in some places. I think it was happening down in Atlantic County not too long ago, where they were requesting vote by mail ballots on behalf of voters. And then they were giving these ballots to the voter to sign. And that's
vote by mail. I'm not talking about that at all.
Right, but I'm saying that when you have early voting, after the early voting time period closes, you still have a few, like you have a day, and then is election day. So you could also have, you can also in our state now they've made it okay to return vote by mail ballots for up to 6 days after the election is over.
Yeah.
So if they're, people that have that are not likely to vote on election day and they know that they didn't come in to vote early, they can use those names to request vote by mail ballots.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
Get rid of vote by mail completely. No vote by mail unless
the longer you extend that time frame, Damon, the more opportunity you have for manipulation, right? Which is why you need 1 day, or maybe you go worst, case to 2 days. But the shorter the time frame, the less opportunity to cheat, just because there's less physical minutes. That's just a fact, right? So anyhow, yeah.
So all right, well, let's take a break and then we'll go on to the next segment after this, guys.
Okay.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
All right, guys, everybody, welcome back. All listeners out there, thank you very much. And if everyone listening to this, if you want to like and subscribe to America's Pulse Network, we air on every social media platform. We're on X, on Facebook, on Rumble, YouTube, Parler, True Social, anywhere you can think of, we're on there. So like and subscribe and pay more attention to this voter integrity. This is great stuff. So guys, I want to play, our loser of the week and then play our Patriot of the week. And then afterwards, we'll talk about where people can find you and you can put your email out there. So this is Hammer 4. My producer puts Hammer 4 on there. Thank you, Seth, for naming me the Hammer, because now it's not even a segment anymore. Now it's Hammer. But so all right, let's play the loser of the week. And I so apologize. It was supposed to be Patriot of the Week, Charlie Kirk. That's what came on. Definitely not Charlie Kirk, Loser of the Week. Or Eric Kirk too as well. But yes, so I apologize. That is the Patriot of the Week. So we can throw into our Loser of the Week now.
Losers! 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 Ah, shut up!
Had to give that to Mikey Sherrill after the debate last night. I think she lost pretty bad to Jack. I think it was pretty bad. And hopefully people come out to vote for Jack, because one of the biggest things for me is we have enough registered Republicans here to get Republicans elected. And again, I'm speaking for myself. I know you guys are nonpartisan with your initiative and all that stuff. So 30% of Republicans usually come out to vote in elections. And last time Jack ran in 2021, only 31% of registered Republicans came out to vote. Chris Christie, on the other hand, when he ran for re-election, who I don't even really call him a Republican, I'm not a fan of him, but when he got his re-elect, 42% of Republicans came out, and he won in a landslide, actually. So 42% will give you a landslide victory. Imagine we had 70% of people come out to vote. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing, is get people out to vote, and it'll make your guys' job a lot harder, for election integrity if we get a lot more people out to vote. But I just want to know, just let all the listeners out there, where can they find you? If you want to list your general email and how they can contact you and get involved. There we go. There's a QR scanner there. Citizens for New Jersey Integrity. Is it that email address?
The website, if the QR code will take you directly to the website, but for anyone who doesn't have the ability to do that right now, the website is the word citizens, the number 4, njei.org, and that will take you to our website. You'll find a lot of things on there, some articles that have been written about our work that we're doing, and also some links to some videos, different things. We've run a couple of election integrity conferences up over the last year, so those have been quite successful. So that's our website. And then if you would like to reach out, as I mentioned earlier, we would love to hear from you, and we'd love to have you join one of our meetings. And you can send us an email at info at citizens, the number 4, njei.org. And one of us, Mark or myself, or our other partner, whose name is Mark Flaherty. I have to give Mark Flaherty a plug, because Mark handles all of our public relations. Mark handles all of our social media. He's amazing. He's running for a town council position in his hometown of Metuchen. So he's been very, very busy campaigning over the last period of time, and we're really hoping that he gets elected. But Mark is great. And so either of the Marks or myself will reach back to you, and we'll get you set up so that you can come and join us. And we would love to have everybody who's watching right now. We can include you in our fun.
All right, great. So guys, thank you very much for coming on tonight. I think it was very informative for everyone.
Thanks for giving us a platform, Damon.
I will, from here on out, because election integrity is very important to me, and Arlene, who I call the mother of my campaign when I ran for office, she's watching right now, and just give her a bullhorn, have her yell at people, and then she'll get people on.
She doesn't need a bullhorn to do that.
No, she doesn't. She does not at all. So, but thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I think it was very informative. People need to know about this stuff, and I will keep pushing this on every episode that I have. Jersey, and I definitely will.
Yeah,
so
we'll check back in with you after the election, regardless of who wins, and we'll let you know what we find.
Yeah,
It'll
I'm
be
gonna
fun.
need you. I'm gonna need you guys when I run again.
It'll be fun.
Six. So, but all right, thank you guys. Have a good
Thank
night.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right,
Good night.
all right. We're gonna go into Seth's GoFundMe. My boy, one-legged Seth, as I call him all the time. I always mess with him. He's not really one-legged. He had a really bad infection in his foot, and he was in the hospital for a very long time. I call him one-legged because I don't know, because I just like to mess with him because he's my boy, but he needs some help. He spent a lot of money. Hospital bills are piling up big time for Seth. So if you guys have it, I know it's tough for everybody, but donate, $5, $10, whatever it may be, to the GoFundMe for Seth. He's still trying to catch up on those hospital bills. He's back to work. He's back to podcasting and all that stuff. But everything, all the bills, are in the background are coming up now. So, but Seth, GoFundMe. All right. So, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. And thank you for joining in. Arlene, I want to thank you for bringing Lynn and Mark to this podcast. I really appreciate it. I think that election integrity is very, very, very important. And everything they're doing seems, it's awesome. And again, I tell you guys that, yes, am I biased? Am I partisan in a way? Yes, I am, because I'm a Republican. But their initiative is not partisan. It's for everyone. It's for Republicans, Democrats, Independents, whatever it may be. It's just to make sure everything is clear. Everyone knows what's going on. We should have voter ID. We should have the same type of voting system throughout every single county. We should have people that watchers that can see what's going on. And that's what they're trying to do. And we shouldn't have illegals voting, number one. That's a big thing for me. But and just anyone that shouldn't be able to vote shouldn't vote. So it's an easy process, and we need to get to that. We need to get. It's very simple. Why can't we just change that in the state of New Jersey? Just say, hey, you need ID. You need to verify you're an American citizen. You need to verify that you live in New Jersey. You need to verify that you're not dead. Simple. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys on Friday. Hopefully we get Martin on, or maybe David, whoever it may be on Friday. I know I didn't have one this Friday because the candidates couldn't make it on. I didn't have a plan B to follow up on that. And I apologize to the other candidates for Monday. We had audio problems, but my great producer, he had to take all of his equipment to Washington State and bring it back to his awesome studio and get it all back together in like record time. So I apologize to the candidates from last week. The audio was a little messed up, but you guys are welcome to come back on. We got it all back together. But my producer's, he's older. He's older than me. I told you that earlier. He's a lot older than me. So he's old, and he got to run around and plug in the wires and stuff like that. No, I'm just joking. He's the man. But it's a hard thing to do. I would not know how to do it one bit. I could plug in, a TV to the wall. That's as far as I go. Ask me to build you a building, I can build it. But when it comes to all that stuff, it's not my forte. I can just do this and talk to you guys. But thank you for joining me. Have a good night, and I'll see you on Friday.
God bless America, my home, sweet
The Conservative Corner Podcast. Hoist the standard. Stand fast and sail with Captain Seth Eisenberg every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yo, all hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never
some are alive, and others sail on the sea. With the keys to the cage and the devil to pay, we lay to Fiddler's Grave.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.